Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gottschall. I'm the Township Manager here in Lower Paxton, your Township Manager. And in typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief summary of this evening's meeting before we begin, particularly for the benefit of those who may be watching at home on television. Before we begin, as is customary, any member of the audience who is seeking to address the board on any number of topics, either on the agenda or not, are asked to sign the login sheet. As you enter the room here, you'll see that sheet on the desk nearest the door, and that, of course, is to aid the recording secretary in properly preparing the meeting minutes. So this evening on the agenda, there are a number of action items that the board will address, including under old business, action on an application for payment number 2, which deals with the 2021 Township street paving project. Moving into new business, the board has a number of action items, including action on Resolution 21-19, which adopts the amendment to Arts Council organizational documents, which really just increases the number of members to that council. After this, the board will take action on approving a renewal to the agreement with PennDOT with regard to municipal winter traffic services. After this, the board will take action on 21-21, which approves of the sewer facilities plan for the Meadows car wash. After this, the board will take action on a number of subdivision and land development items, including Ordinance 21-02, which amends the township zoning map to include the commercial, which will include the town center district. After this, the board will take action on a preliminary and final subdivision and land development plan for the Windchase 3 development. After this, the board will take action on the payment of township and authority bills before hearing any final messages and adjournment. With all this said, members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gottschall. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand, and Supervisor Judd will lead us with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move now to the approval of minutes of the June 8th, 2021 workshop meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from June the 8th, 2021 workshop meeting.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. This is the time set aside for public comment. Before we move to that, I would like to announce that the Board of Supervisors did meet in executive session prior to this meeting and will do so following. Public comment is a time to address any item that is not on the agenda tonight. If you are here to address an item that is on the agenda, we'll have public comment on that item at that time. So is anybody here who would like to make public comment on an item not on the agenda? Yes, sir. Please come to the podium and give us your name and address. And a reminder that we do ask folks to limit public comment to no more than 5 minutes, especially when we have a lot of people who would like to speak, which appears to be the case tonight. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Peter D. Mireles, 504 South Hawks Road. First of all, I want to thank you for the road. It looks beautiful. It rides very nicely. It's wonderful. My first, I guess, question is, and you might not know the answer to this, is there going to be a crosswalk that is going to be painted across from the school to the housing area as there was one before? That's my first question. My second question is there any thought, any possibility to lower the speed limit to 25 miles an hour? The graduation of Central Dauphin High School, as it was very congested to try to get into the parking lot. I live right across from the Landis Field, so I was able to see everything. People were just speeding by that traffic as people were trying to get into the parking lot. There was one individual who had a four-wheeler. He had another individual on the back filming a motorcyclist doing a wheelie on South Hawks Road. I know there's nothing you can do about that. I understand that, and I'm not saying that that's an issue with you. Please don't think that. What I am saying, I do believe that 25 miles an hour, because there are very many people that are coming across. This year at Central Dauphin Middle School, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they have 5 fifth grade classes that they have to bring over from Southside Elementary School because they are just too overwhelmed at that school. So that means more congestion when parents are doing the drop-off. So if there's any way that we can put a 25 mile an hour zone during that time, I know we have one right out here in front of the police station on this road, 35, I'm sorry, I just believe it is too fast, especially with the number of drivers that we have in this day and age. I appreciate the time for the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brad, do we know about the crosswalk? Is that something that just hasn't happened yet? Or we're not sure?
Looks like Mr. Hines is teed up and ready to
Oh,
answer
Mr.
that
Hines
question.
can answer that. Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Jason.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. For those in the audience who may not be aware, I'm Jason Hines. I'm the Township engineer and also the project manager for the paving project. And yes, those crosswalks are going to be replaced once the final paving is complete. In regards to the second question about the speed limit, I think now that those concerns have been voiced, that's certainly something that we can take back to the Township Traffic Safety Unit and have investigated.
Okay. Would you make a point to do that? Or Brad, as the case may be? Yes. I thought that issue came up
It
once
did
before.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if the traffic study didn't warrant it, but it does make sense because you have Prince Street, which is also 25, and then you go to South Hawks, which is 35.
Yeah,
So we can have traffic safety take a look at that.
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Appreciate it. Would anybody else like to address the board on an item not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to chairman and board member comments. Board members, aside from, I guess, celebrating the fact or noting the fact that the Census Bureau has issued its official numbers from the 2020 census. And for those who did not see the release, Lower Paxton Township has now surpassed the city of Harrisburg and is the largest municipality in Dauphin County. And there is significance to that in that our population has now exceeded 50,000, which Mr. Godshall has informed us is a threshold to open up some new opportunities potentially for grants to do various projects. So we are going to be investigating whatever new opportunities that census milestone may have provided us, in addition to maybe getting a little bit of a bragging right over the city of Harrisburg. So any other board member comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Manager Brad Gutschall and myself attended the PSATS seminar today out at the Holiday Inn Grantville. It was very informative, and the workshops are things that we can bring back to the township to make it a better place.
I'm going to venture to guess that 99% of the people don't know what PSAT is.
I was going to say PSATS is the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors, or a very, very active and effective statewide organization. Anybody else? Okay. Mr. Manager, do you have any report?
I do not have a report this evening, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. That now takes us to old business. We have item 8A. We only have one item of old business. We need to take action on application for payment number 2 from Penzi Supply. This for the 2021 Lower Paxton Township Street Paving Project. Mr. Gottschall and Mr. Hines are going to handle that. The amount, where are we? Okay, this is not working.
202,951.
Thank you. For some reason, my computer has logged out.
Yes, sir. Chairman, members of the board, payment for application for payment number 2 authorizes payment as reported in the amount of $202,951.82 to contractor Penzi Supply Incorporated on the township's 2021 street paving project. Once paid for this application, the remaining balance of this contract will be in the amount of $748,175.77. This application has, of course, been reviewed and recommended by the township engineer, as well as township staff. We'd be happy to help answer any questions if the board has any at this moment.
Board members, any questions? This, of course, for our summer road paving projects. I assume the one that was referenced earlier, does that fall under this, or was that sewer authority?
No, that would be part of this project.
Part of this project, good. So do we have a motion on the item?
I'll move that we approve the application for payment number 2 from Pensy Supply for the 2021 Lower Paxton Township Street paving project for the terms outlined by the township manager.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll now turn to new business. And our first item under new business is we need to, this item, I guess, is now going to be removed as the applicant is moving from the
No.
township.
No, he was Greenway.
Oh, that was Greenway, so this is not the moot one? Okay. Then we need to take action to appoint Kenneth Murin to the Greenway Committee. Is Mr.
No,
Murin?
no, no, that's the one that's being taken out.
That's the next one.
You have the hard copy. It was changed on our computers.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the hard copy. So the digital copy is different?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. They're not the same. All right, so then we'll go to 9A, which would be action on Resolution 21-19, adopting amended Arts Council organizational documents to increase the number of members on the Arts Council. Now we're in the right place? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Godshall, we're going from what to what?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Resolution 21-19 actually comes in response to a request from the Arts Council to increase their organization by 2 members from 5 to 7 in an effort to attract additional backgrounds, insight, and experience to the council. It is the council's desire to have appointed to these new slots individuals with different art experience or expertise than is available in today's membership.
Okay.
The township solicitor has reviewed this resolution and staff recommends its approval.
Okay. Board members, any questions, comments?
So they haven't interviewed anybody yet. They're just wanting to boost it up a couple.
Yeah, I don't believe they've done any interviews. They're just looking to.
I think
Boost
they
the
were
numbers.
waiting to see if we approved it.
That would probably make sense. Yes.
And they're all volunteer board members, so. Okay, any public questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we take, approve action on Resolution 2119, adopting amended Arts Council organization documents as to increase the number of members from 5 to 7.
So moved, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 9B, we need to take action approving a renewal to the Municipal Winter Traffic Services Agreement with PennDOT. This is something we do every year. Mr. Godshall, for those here and watching, if you would like to explain.
Yes, sir. Members of the board, before you this evening is a familiar document, as mentioned, providing for a renewal of the winter municipal snow removal contract between the township and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. This agreement provides compensation for the township's effort in maintaining 33.46 miles worth of state roadways, which comes to 7 different roadways in all throughout the township. During the winter months in the years 2021 through 2022. Total compensation for the upcoming winter season for all 7 roadways is, through this agreement, $38,469.18, which is a decrease from $38,875.95 as of the 2020 through 2021 season agreement. The Public Works Director has begrudgingly recommended the approval of this renewal.
Does mean some extra work for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Brad, why was it decreased?
You know, Mrs. Lindsay, I'm not really quite sure. We haven't received any particular documentation as to why this was specifically decreased, although I can note that the state has been looking at changing their funding formula for this project as well as the turnback program statewide, I guess particularly as it relates to decreased funding through other means such as the gas tax and other funding sources. But their decrease equals a decrease in what they provide to us.
I would think with an increase in fuel, they would increase the amount to us.
Mr. Henry, would it be okay if I read the 7 roads? Because I don't think a lot of our residents know which roads are state roads here in the township.
Sure.
Rediford Road, Colonial Road, Locust Lane, Union Deposit, Nye Road, Blue Ridge Avenue, and Mountain Road.
And that's not all of them.
Well, that's that's the ones that are state roads.
Route 22?
But 22 Lingles down.
But these are the ones that we take care
Those
of.
are the ones we take.
Right.
Yeah.
The other state
Right.
roads
The
are
other ones
plowed
the
by
state
PennDOT.
takes care of.
I just
These are,
want people to understand
yeah,
there are more.
but these are just the ones that we're only getting paid $38,000 for.
It's always a surprise when
And there's
people
a
find
difference
out.
between maintaining the roads like paving and potholes versus plowing those roads. There's a difference.
Right.
Okay, any additional board member questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution with PennDOT, or the renewal with of the Municipal Winter Traffic Services Agreement with PennDOT?
Mr. Chairman, begrudgingly, like Mr. Klein, I'd like to approve a renewal to the Municipal Winter Traffic Services Agreement with PennDOT in the amount of $38,469.18.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now move to item number 10 on the agenda. We need to take action on Resolution 2121, approving the sewage facilities plan for the Meadows Car Wash. It says Mr. Weaver, whom I do not see. Are you going to handle that one, Mr. Godshall?
Yes, sir. I can give it a shot.
Okay.
Before the board this evening is resolution, of course, 21-21, providing for a revision to the township's official sewage facilities plan, specifically including the development of the Meadows Car Wash to be located at 4636 Jonestown Road. Mr. Weaver, through his documentation, has indicated that this project requires a net of 42 EDUs of additional capacity on the township's sewer collection system. No new public sewer extension is required through this development. This resolution and amended plan, as required by DEP regulations, has been approved by GHD, the authority's sewer engineer, and is recommended by staff. At this point, Resolution 21-21 is ready for board action.
I just have a question. You said 42 EDUs, so if it's a plan revision, did it not have enough, or did it, what's the reason for the plan revision?
The 42 additional EDUs is what is needed
Okay, on top of what?
for this development, right, on top of what currently exists.
So we're allowing it to happen, add the extra 42 EDUs? Okay.
Yes, this resolution allows the 42 additional EDUs of capacity to be
And Mr.
granted.
Weaver's okay with it?
Yes.
Okay.
You explain what an EDU is?
Equivalent dwelling
Dwelling
unit.
units.
There is a scientific formula behind that determination that I do not know, but
Equivalent development units.
yes.
Sort of the equivalent of 42 houses, I would assume.
Something like that.
And of course, car washes put more water into the sewage system than an ice cream stand, or pardon me, custard stand. I was corrected on that once.
I wish Mr. Weaver was here, because most car washes are required to recirculate the water.
To
Yes.
recycle, yeah.
Well, they're going
That
to
will
want
be
to
the
do
case.
that. It costs less for them to operate by doing that.
Oh, yes. They are required to do that in this instance as well.
Okay. Mr. Judd, any questions or comments?
No, sir.
I'm sorry, I have my back sorted to you.
That's all right. I'm good.
Any public question or comment? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 2121, the sewage facilities plan for Meadows Car Wash.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, now we move to subdivision and land development. The first item before us is we have proposed ordinance 21-02, amending the township zoning map to rezone the commercial general district to the town center district. And Mr. Gottschall, why don't you give a brief overview as to what it is we want to do here?
Yes, sir. So this item particularly is really as a follow-up to many months' worth of ongoing conversations at the township relative to the current site, which is the Colonial Park Mall, and generally speaking, malls across the nation as it relates to what they are facing in the retail industry, broadly speaking. The Township Board of Supervisors, as you are all aware, have been very proactive in putting into place a number of changes to our zoning map that would increase this particular site's viability for the long-term future, particularly noting the site's importance within the township, its geographic location, as well as its access to certain transportation hubs. So the town center zoning district essentially is a zone that will allow for a mixed-use type of a use, which we're talking about things such as upscale housing, apartments and condos, as well as a mix of certain retail uses and professional office uses, things like hotels and a number of higher-end, again, retail opportunities for the district and surrounding areas. And this zone really focuses in on, pedestrian-friendly transportation within the zone. We're talking about, buildings that are adjusted more closely to the streetscapes. Again, just promoting that walkability and that friendly, kind of biking feel to it. And again, providing for a mixed-use type of an environment allows people to not only live there, but to also do their shopping and committing to a number of other human activities right where they live. And so this district really does all of that. And the action before the board tonight is simply to amend the map, the actual physical map. Of course, the board has already adopted the zoning district. This merely changes the map.
And keeping in mind that this is putting in place the framework to allow this to happen, it's still private property owned by private ownership group, and any redevelopment there would be up to the private sector ultimately. But what we're doing is creating a situation where we provide options. As we all know, Lower Paxton Township has a long history of rapid development, and this could be our first major foray into redevelopment, which is allowing us to take a property and repurpose it rather than go to some place that hasn't been built upon before. This will require a public hearing, so I guess I turn that over to Mr. Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a time and date set for the public hearing on Ordinance 21-02, which would amend Chapter 203 of the zoning ordinance, Sections 303.a, to modify the Lower Paxton Township zoning map to rezone land from the commercial general district to the town center district. Is there anybody in the audience this evening that wishes to be heard on Ordinance 21-02? Seeing no response, Mr. Chairman, it would be in order at this time to close the public hearing on Ordinance 21-02, and the board may take action if it so desires.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stein. Board members, would anybody like to make a motion then on Ordinance 21-02?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 21-02, amending the township zoning map to rezone the commercial general district to the town center district.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We now have before us action on a preliminary and final subdivision and land development plan for Wind Chase 3, known as Plan 21-14. So I would like to ask Mrs. Zerby to give us an overview of this and Then we'll move to public comment, and I suspect that there are a lot of folks who would like to comment. You're all welcome to do so. We do ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less so that we can have an opportunity to hear from everybody who wishes to speak. So, Mrs. Irby, would you like to explain to us what's before us?
Yes, this is the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for.
Is your microphone on?
It is.
Can you pull a little closer, please?
No, you're finished. Thank you. The preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for Wind Chase 3 proposes to subdivide the existing Lot 4, which is Wind Chase 2, into 2 lots. Part of Lot 4 will be combined with existing Lot 5 to create the proposed Wind Chase 3 area. Lot 4, which is Wind Chase 2, will have a total area of 3.96 acres. Lot 5, which is Wind Chase 3, will have a total area of 3.88 acres and consist of 21 townhouse units. The required parking facilities, driveway access, lighting, and stormwater management facilities shall be constructed as shown on the plan. The site is in the R2 medium density zoning district and will be served by public sewer and water. This plan was approved at the August 11, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. They requested 4 waivers, and staff supports all 4 waivers. So with that, we have a representative from Triple Crown Corporation that can answer any questions the board may have for the plan.
Okay, would you like to come to the podium and give us your name and address and make any preliminary comments you like?
Sure. My name is Zachary Yerrick. I'm with Triple Crown Corporation. I'm here filling in for Mark DeSanto tonight. This plan has been in front of the Planning Commission twice now. It did receive a unanimous recommendation for approval. Tonight we would seek for the board to affirm that recommendation and move the plan forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do we have any questions? If you could come back to the podium, we'll have board member questions.
I just had a couple. Are these going to be rented or will they be purchased?
These will be rental townhomes.
They'll be rental. I noticed that there was a traffic study done.
Correct. There was a small traffic. It wasn't a full study, but yes, we did look at traffic.
Okay. Can you explain to me, you're talking 21 townhouses. In the morning, there was 11 weekday AM peak hour, and then in the evening, there was 15 peak hour, and you have 21 townhouses. Can you explain to me why the numbers aren't matching?
The peak traffic data is calculated within a 1 hour period. So that difference would just be people that leave for work at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Some people work second, third shift. That's the reason that you're not seeing 21 trips in and out in any given hour.
Okay. And then I think I have a question for maybe Amanda, or I don't know if you can ask me. It was on the information from Act 1. If you go to page 21 from the information of Act 1, at the bottom, I was just curious, it was signed by Mr. Schaefer, but then it was CC'd to Thomas Long, and it said Township Manager email, and it was CC'd to Justin Thompson, Public Works Director, Manager's Assistant. So I'm trying to figure out who those 2 people are.
I don't know.
If I could venture a guess, I'm thinking that's probably left over from another plan, and that was just a typo mistake on the CC section.
Okay. And I have one more question. I was back there yesterday morning, and I know it's the dead end, so I'm sure our snowplows have had issues trying to turn around, back there. So with that driveway coming down, are we going to be allowed to go up there and turn around a little bit and then come back down Colorado?
My understanding was that the fire and Public Works reviewed this, and it was their opinion that the hammerhead turnaround would be an improvement on the existing condition to allow them a better turnaround.
Which I can see that because I have a little SUV and I could barely get turned around at the end of the street. So, okay, great. Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
And just regarding the ingress and egress from the development, what made you settle on this particular plan, Colorado Avenue?
There are a number of factors that weighed into that. Just to rattle off a few, one, it avoided a stream crossing. which comes with its own set of challenges. Permitting, cost is a big one. And we're not afraid to say that things cost money, and if there's a cheaper way to do it, sometimes it makes sense to do it that way. Colorado Ave allowed us to use existing infrastructure rather than building new infrastructure, which is sometimes more burdensome to the township to maintain long term. Those are just a few of the factors that went into it. I think that pretty much sums it up there.
Okay.
Board members, any additional comments? Questions? Okay. If you could stick around, I'm sure we'll have more questions. Now is the time for public comment on the proposal. Again, we'd like to ask you to please come to the podium, give us your name and address, and again, if you would give everybody the courtesy of keeping remarks to 4 to 5 minutes, that would be very helpful. And we'll try to answer any questions that you might have. So, would anybody like to make comment on this? I'm sure somebody wants to make comment. Please, sir, come to the podium. You, yeah, with the red mask, if you would come up to the podium.
My name is James Mcguire, M-A-G-U-I-R-E. I live at 5036 Utah Avenue. I'm the last house on Utah, and my property abuts on that little stream that they would have to build a bridge over to use a different little entranceway off instead of Colorado. Most of the time, that stream is like 2 to 3 feet wide and about 6 inches deep. When we've had these recent downpour storms, that thing is a raging torrent. I've got videos on my phone. If you'd like to see them, I can show you. The fact that they could want to try to dump even more water downstream from us into that stream and cause it to back up so that it's rising higher at Utah Avenue, I'm afraid it's going to wash away the side of the ravine of my property. And I don't know if they've ever seen what that little stream looks like during a heavy downpour. I had it for the planning meeting, and they kind of shut me off. I didn't get to show all my videos. So any of you that would like to see what a really heavy rainstorm does to that little tiny stream, you're welcome to borrow my phone.
I completely understand. I too have a stream next to my house, and sometimes there's not even any water in it. But the storms last week, you're right, it turned into a raging torrent. We took an unusual amount of water in a very short period of time last week. There was a stormwater plan, I assume, as part of this?
Yes, and just to provide some context, when a development like this comes in, there is a stormwater management ordinance that the plan has to comply with. And that is reviewed very thoroughly anytime a plan comes in by us as the township engineer. We look at the stormwater very critically. And part of that requires the applicant to demonstrate that they're not only maintaining the same amount of volume that leaves the site as it would today, it also requires it to maintain that same amount of rate that leaves the site. So for this particular plan, there's 2 basins that are being proposed to manage the stormwater on site. So as long as the project is constructed in accordance with the plan, it should comply with those requirements of the stormwater ordinance. On top of that, there's also other oversight by the county conservation district when a plan like this comes in. So it's not just us that's looking at the stormwater for the site. There's a lot of oversight that goes into it.
Jason, will HRG or will the township be keeping on top of that to make sure that it is done the way it's supposed to be?
Yes, so another requirement of these plans for everybody's just general knowledge is that the developer needs to post financial security to ensure that the improvements on the plan are installed in accordance with the plan and with proper construction techniques. So we, as the township engineer, inspect those items and those improvements on behalf of the township. And if they aren't done in accordance with the plan, the township holds the money. If they are, the township's able to release that security back to the developer.
Okay.
Jason, how long do we hold the money?
Until the project's complete, and then after that, there's an 18-month maintenance bond period where we hold 15% of that total amount.
And if something should happen and it's not working, they must go back in and fix it.
That's correct, yes, as long as it's within that maintenance bond term.
Right, the 18 months.
If something occurs outside of that term with the stormwater facilities, there is an operations and maintenance agreement that the developer is required to enter into with the township that gives the township the right to take enforcement actions to make sure they go back and they correct whatever issues are occurring.
Thank you.
If I had your permission, I could show you a video of what that little stream looks like.
Oh, well, if you want to come up here, we can't unfortunately get it up on the screen.
Right, I didn't bring my thumb drive.
I mean, we pretty much know what it,
We've seen these,
Yeah.
they can get really bad, and we've had some really heavy rain.
let the gentleman take a minute or two to show the,
If you're ever considering taking up surfboarding,
I was thinking of whitewater rafting,
that'd be better yet.
and that's what that normal little 2-foot, 6-inch stream turns into with a heavy rain. Without the additional.
I totally get it.
Well, and Supervisor Lindsay and Mr. Zumis has some good questions. Planning, and I know developers have to jump through a ton of hoops for stormwater. And it's an honest question to see, okay, well, what if the best laid plans don't work and there is something that can be done if the plans just didn't work the way they're supposed to when it comes to stormwater? There are steps that can be taken, which is good to know.
And the two new basins aren't there now, right?
No, that's correct.
Would anybody else like to address the board on this subject? Again, sir, please come to the podium and give us your name and address.
My name is Mark Huntington, 5020 Colorado Avenue. We're right in the middle of it, of the house facing the south side of it. When we're talking about water runoff, we also have the houses that are on the south side of this development being made. We have a cliff behind us. And I brought this up before in the meetings, the two meetings before this. You have a cliff back there behind the houses. If you're going to level trees and put 21 townhouses in there, we have nothing to hold that embankment up. Last meeting, Triple Crown said, oh, no matter which way we go, whether we come from the other side or we come through Colorado Avenue, we still have to use Colorado Avenue, but that's not true. And I don't know why we're picking Colorado Avenue when you can come from the other way, but Triple Crown always comes out with the answer that it costs money. We have to cut more trees down. It costs more to build a bridge over the creek. So it's like saying we're going to take the cheapest way we can and go down through your street and make a road up there. Now, I asked the first meeting if they could put a fence up, because I don't need children coming down over the embankment, people taking shortcuts, going to school. There's nothing to stop the erosion. Once you take those trees out and level that ground out, we have nothing but a cliff that's going to be given between those houses. There's I'd say there's 5 houses involved in that cliff. I don't see an answer for that.
Can you show us on if you see the map up there, where the cliff is, so that we...
For you, I'd be 5020 right here.
Okay.
These, from here to here, there's a cliff.
Okay.
The cliff is, I'm gonna guess the cliff's behind my house is 15 feet high. And over the years, over the 35 years I've been there, it's been getting steeper and steeper because water runoff.
So it falls off behind your house to the townhouses, or from the townhouses?
Fence line, it just drops like a cliff going down the back. That's
And the
what you have.
townhouses would be built on the lower part? No? They'd be built on the higher part, okay.
And in the last thing I read about this development, they're talking about putting, on the south side, we're gonna put a shrubbery line behind the houses there. You know, that's not gonna solve the problem, plus I'm not maintaining their shrubs for them. But that's their answer. But when you take those trees down, and I really don't want a line of trees behind the houses that are gonna fall over our house and say that's an act of God when they fall over and take your house out. When they take that woods out, they put this in. When you take this out and the trees out of here, we have nothing that protects that cliff. It's gonna be gone. So it's gonna be running down in. So I asked, they put a 6-foot fence up along there. That was the first meeting. This meeting, I'm saying, hey, what are we gonna do when you level those trees out? And yeah, Triple Crown's answer to each one of these meetings was that costs money. We're not gonna come the back way. In the last meeting, they said that, well, which way we go, we have to use Colorado Avenue. That's not true. There's 2 entrances. You can cross over that creek, go around. That's how originally it was going to be done originally, before this townhouses were thought of. They thought of putting 4 houses back there, developer, go across, make a loop, and go back out. So if you go through Colorado Avenue now and build that, what happens when a tree comes down and those people are locked in for the day until you get someone over there to take that tree out? Those people are locked, they can't get out of there. It's going to be a narrow road going down, an elbow up. If a tree falls down on that during one of the winters, they're stuck in those townhouses. There's no way out. But the other way, there was a way in and out. You have 3 or 4 ways of getting it back out to, I can't think of all the roads over there, but on the other side, on this side, you cross over.
Is that where the
Northwest, you're going this way. You have other ways out as you get out. There's 3 different roads you can get out on. Going through Colorado gives you just one road, and one road only. That's it. If anything happens, and then the person that said it last week's not here. When this construction goes on, what are we to do? And we can't use our street to go up and down because they've been running construction up and down it. We don't have no place to hide. There's no place to go. You're stuck on a dead end street. Now they're going to have no place to go. You're going to have to walk a block to get in your vehicle. I mean, that's going to be kind of lame to say, oh, the road's closed. We're working on it. We have no place to go. There's no other way out of there. So even though if you approve this development, I still say, I don't care if it costs them more money to go the other way. Colorado Avenue is not the way to do it. And that's the only thing I have against this whole plan is the Colorado Avenue is not a strong way of doing it. Plus the amount of traffic you're going to have. When Triple Crown was just saying about their time frame measurement, oh, well, you have the 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock people, you know, nothing about coming home. They come home there, because people come home at different times too. They're going to be traffic we've never seen before. It's not a road that's been handling that. It's a 30-foot road. That's all there is. That's what you have. So I don't see why we can't spend a little more money and come in the other way and not bother anybody. If you're going to build it, I mean, you're going to improve it, improve it. That's great. But using Colorado, they mentioned about the snow trucks. Yeah, we're lucky to see them until the end of the day anyhow. So that's going to be a miserable thing. Where's the snow going to go when you plow that road? You plow it down, and you're going to put it in someone's lawn? I mean, everything comes to an L shape at the end of that road when they bend it and go back the next way. It's like that, L shape. So where are you going to put the snow when you just do the snow removal? How are you going to do that? So if we get 18 inches of snow out there, those people live on the end are going to really be like, wow, you pile up my yard, now what do I do? But that's just what I see happening. I don't disapprove what they're doing about building it. It's using Colorado Avenue. Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking that they should, in Windchase 2, the townhouses up above, you're thinking they should come down from those into the Windchase 3? Oh, okay, because I did go back in there because you have to go through the apartments to go into Windchase 2, which is one way in and one way out. Right. Yeah, because it's just, so I was thinking when you went back to the loop, you're saying to the right, like if I'm going down, the townhouses are here, if I'm in the loop, you're saying to the right where all the trees are, you'd like to have that opened up, make that a loop and come back out instead of going down to Colorado.
Originally, to develop in that section, you had to have a way in and way out. So the fire department, basically. A way in and a way out. So they come up with this idea to go through Colorado Avenue, go up, loop around, and come back out, providing the loop doesn't get crowded by some way, someone breaking their car down. But that, instead of coming the other way, making a loop and going back out, and never even seeing that traffic, and it stays on that side, and they have 3 ways of getting out to Colonial Park with no problem, they're going to try to use Little Colorado Avenue. And if anything happens in that road, those people are locked in. There's no way of getting out. That's it. How are they going to get out until that problem is taken and resolved? Other than that, they'd have no way of getting out of that development if they're using just Colorado by itself. So when they said last week, oh, we got to use Colorado no matter which way, no, that's not true. You can go the other way, but you have to spend another $1, cut another tree, and put your little bridge across. That's not our problem. But to abuse us, and I didn't mean to drag this in again, but we have, the maintenance on our end is horrible. You got the grids that take the water, the grass is thrown up out of top of them. They don't take care of anything, so it's going to get worse. And we're the little guys that have been there for I don't know how long, and our development, well, we're called a train route for the mail service. It's going downhill, and it's getting worse and worse. And now you're going to put a development up here. They'll look at them, but they're not going to look at us. We're in the middle. We get nothing. It just goes down the hill from there. But that's all I have to say, basically.
You're saying your storm drains have grass
Yes.
growing? Okay.
The maintenance is going downhill. They don't come around and do our grades in the ground.
Colorado Avenue
That's
off
right.
of Utah.
Utah, Indiana, the
Go ahead.
grass grows right out of the grades. They're not even touching them.
Out of the grates?
The
You know,
grades, yeah.
Our
The
little
storm
drains in
drains.
the road?
Yeah.
Storm drains.
And our other guy was just talking over there, down there in by that bridge. This stuff just grows out of there in Utah. It's over the 8-inch rule sometimes.
It happens. It happens in my neighborhood.
Yep.
And if you report it, it'll get fixed. Maybe there'll be more attention now.
What aggravates me in that comment, and 'cause we heard that last week, is that I'm not going to be calling every time I see something like that, because I can write down Prince Street and Locust Lane and see it right there growing out of everything. The township needs to do the maintenance. That's their job. They have a maintenance group. Take your time and clean drains. But that's you guys. That's not me.
Yeah.
I worked for a borough of New Cumberland one time years ago, and that's what we did. We cleaned the drain. We didn't let them get clogged up.
This is a big township. We need to know. You got to tell us.
Well,
There's
I
no way
don't
they
have
can
time to
possibly-
call you guys all the time.
Okay.
I look at the bad guy, like who called? Hey, that guy who called you? Oh, he did. Oh man, this is a municipality maintenance. They should be doing this, not us calling every little grid we have out there that has a clog in it. They should be maintained on a normal basis, and they wouldn't come up and grow up like that. And people that mow the lawn in the street, that collects into it too. They shouldn't be doing that, but I'm not going to run and tell on them.
It's okay. We have an incentive because to get our stormwater permit, like we have an incentive to keep those things clean. We want to.
I know.
So you won't be judged if you ever do call. We want to keep them clean, but I know that's not what you came here to talk about.
No, that's right. I didn't come here to talk about that, but Lower Paxton Doug got his maintenance going in that aspect. If you're going to put a development upon a development, then the poor people already there need their place maintained too. Don't just put a new road there and let their road fall apart. Not saying you. I'm just saying
right. You're right.
You got to maintain.
You're absolutely right.
Actually,
That's all I have to say. That's
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, as a point of interest,
You must have done a really good job.
as a point of interest, sir, the new stormwater fee application process, and as part of that whole permitting process, residents are permitted through that process to actually adopt a stormwater inlet to have a reduction on your stormwater fee. So
Don't they get paid to do that?
Yeah, that's just what he said. Yeah, they can adopt it
yeah.
and they'll get a reduction on their,
you can get a
if they take
reduction on your
care of it.
stormwater fee. So
We haven't
not
adopted
to answer
inlet
that question,
program?
but there is an incentive if you're interested in doing that.
Okay, well, let's sort of bring ourselves back to the point. Would anybody else like to make public comment on this? Yes, ma'am. Please, again, come to the podium.
Petition of the residents of Colorado and Utah Avenue against the opening of Colorado Avenue. My husband, thank you for giving me this time. My name is Patricia Shaver, and I live at 5008 Colorado Avenue. My husband and I have lived there for 55 years. We bought that house because it was on a dead-end street. It was a nice, quiet road, no people racing up and down. You could walk across the street without even looking both ways if you wanted to. And now they want to open up the end down there. Well, that's going to destroy our way of life. Well, I have several different reasons that I'm opposed to this, because number one, when you build a new development, the road's supposed to be 32 feet wide. They gave the Triple Crown a variance that they could use our road because it's only 30 feet wide. Now, they're gonna have 72 parking spaces in there. Well, they're not gonna be empty parking spaces. And then I'm losing my train of thought here. 72, okay, and they said that the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2018 says that they want to avoid future traffic problems. Well, I don't know if you can tell by looking at this. They're going to come down out here, go down Colorado Avenue, they'll either go out Indiana or go down the circle to Colorado Avenue to here, and then they're going to go on Utah, and they're going to go out to Prince Street. And I don't know if any of you have ever been at this Township building when it's bad traffic, but you positively cannot get out onto Prince Street. And like with parking on both sides of Utah Avenue, we've tried to come home, and we're coming down Prince Street. We want to turn into Utah, and it's like, who goes first? You know, yeah, I mean, everybody's courteous, and, you know, they're not running into each other, but it's congestion, it's confusion. And to add more traffic to that situation is terrible. Now, they did put stop signs at the end of Colorado Avenue and at Indiana and Utah, but they mean nothing. I mean, people just, and I mean, when I back in the driveway, I go down Utah and go up Indiana so I can, because the man across the street has trucks, and I like to get the different angle. And the people coming from that other development up there, they come down across the bridge. There's a stop sign, they're supposed to stop. I'm coming this way. I don't have to stop. I put my turn signal on, and I'm going to turn. And I'm like already in the middle of a turn, and whoop, right through the stop sign, right in front of me. I don't know how many times I've had to slam on my brakes, you know, just fear for my life. I mean, they don't even look. And then well, like Mark said, the people that are going to be in there, if there's ever any kind of like a fire or a tree falling down, any kind of anything down at that end of the street, those people are going to be trapped. And then, okay, now they're going to come down Colorado Avenue, go out Utah, then go up Prince Street. All the businesses are on 22. Your Colonial Park Shopping Center, your Costco. If they were to go Lancer Street, which is through their own property, which may be a little bit more expensive, but it's their property. If they go that way, they're closer. They have to drive less of a distance to get to the shopping areas and the major roads. I just feel that opening up Colorado is the wrong thing to do. I mean, it's 30 inches wide, and there's even a spot on Colorado Avenue where it's only 27 feet wide. They've had to come and put no parking signs on the one side of Colorado Avenue because the road was too narrow, and people would come around that curve, and people would come up, and we've had several crashes, you know, there. In fact, we had a dog that got hit there because the people they come flying around that curve, and we just don't need the traffic. We just don't want the traffic. And I mean, yeah, they can develop their land, and then to go to the stormwater management, I mean, when they go up, our yard used to go up into the woods, okay, and then they took the woods behind us away, and they built Colonial Glen Apartments. Well, they're having trouble back there now. They had a backhoe and everything because of the water drainage. And we have a cement patio that was up against our house. Just from the water running down, okay, up to the woods, our yard now goes 5 feet down to their apartments. And the apartments in Colonial Glen behind our house on the basement floor, the bottom floor, half of them can't be rented because they have water in them. They get water in those apartments. And they came and they dug a big trench along there with their machines. But I think they still get water in them because I never see lights on them. But anyhow, our patio is like that far away from our house, from the erosion, from all the rain. And we had some work done in our house, and the guy dumped tons and tons and tons of topsoil to try to level it up. And I can just see the yard it's just going down. Now they're gonna go up there and take all those big old trees away. I mean, those trees are soaking up water. You saw what that man had on his phone now, when those trees aren't there. And then they're gonna come and they're gonna grind up the topsoil. Well, what you got under there is slate. Where's the water gonna go? It's not gonna soak into slate. It's gonna go rushing down all over the place. I mean, it's just, I think that if you would look at the distance between Prince Street, Colorado Avenue, Lancer Street and Royal Street, and Devonshire Road, and you count the number of people in that little tiny area, not just Windchase, there's 20 million different little apartment complexes, and each one of those apartments have parking lots, and all those parking lots are not allowing the water to seep into the ground. You got a lot of people in that little tiny area, and as you said, that the township has now surpassed the population of Harrisburg. We're supposed to be living in the suburbs. Do you really think that's a good thing?
Well, the only thing I can say to that is when it comes to property, the folks who buy it and own it have a right to develop it consistent with all the rules, regulations, and zoning, et cetera. And we do not control whether or not a housing development gets built. Like, for example, what we just approved with the mall, we can put the structure in place for what they can do. We can't control what goes in there, or if anything goes in there. It may be the market won't allow anything to happen.
Well, the last time I looked at the tax map, which was a couple weeks ago, Triple Crown did not own the land that they're going to use to come out onto Colorado Avenue. It's still owned by the Daimlers.
I don't know.
That's true. We have the property under contract to close.
Contingent upon approval.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All
but
right.
I really, they have this big piece of land, and they've broken it up into little tiny pieces because the rules for developing little tiny pieces are different than from developing great big pieces. And that's why they're doing that. They have a Windchase 1, a Windchase 2, now Windchase 3, and they're subdividing something to make it into a 4 and a 5. I didn't really understand all that.
That's not really what's at play there, but they usually, with larger developments, they typically do tend to develop it into phases because of the investment cost of putting in all the infrastructure for the phase. They want to sell that phase before they then have money to go and do the next one. That's usually more what's at play. It's economics.
But I have, like, the comprehensive plan for, it goes Royal Avenue, and I have a Google map where they actually have the curb cuts and the road sign for this road called Royal Court that goes right up to where they're going to build. So, I mean, there's no reason why they should open up Colorado Avenue.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention.
Oh, sure.
Jason, can I just ask you a question? 21 townhouses, 2 parking spaces, you have 42 and visitors. How did we go from 42 to 72? I didn't count the parking spaces on the plan.
I actually believe it's 60 spaces, looking at the plan, and that's based on the calculations required by the zoning ordinance.
Okay. I was just wondering because 72 seemed like an awful lot. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Would anybody else like to comment on the item before us? Yes, sir. Okay, we can do that.
We can share.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ryan Anderson. I live at 5007 Colorado Avenue. My name may sound familiar to some of you. I sent you an email the other day kind of outlining some of these concerns. Thank you to those of you that responded to that email. Really, my issue here is I spent the my time here at the Planning Commission meeting last week, and it seemed to me that this entire plan was just the cheapest way to do it for Triple Crown, and it didn't truly consider all these impacts as far as I can tell. I'll start with traffic concerns. I mean, there's 26 homes on Colorado Ave right now. There's 21 additional units planning to go in, and the traffic assessment, which I looked at your website today, it looks like because there's less than 50 dwellings, it's not actually even required. But again, 21 new units is nearly doubling the amount of dwellings accessed from Colorado Ave and Indiana Ave. I don't find that to be a minimal impact to the area traffic, personally. And that doesn't even begin to factor in FedEx, UPS, mail, Uber, DoorDash. We've got all these services now. That traffic assessment does not factor that in. And I can tell you that what it does factor in seems pretty low as someone that's actually lived on the street. But snow removal was something else, a traffic concern. I don't personally live all the way at the end of this street. Now, maybe someone here can clarify this, but I don't think they actually turn around. I believe they plow from Indiana Ave straight down the street, they back up, and they plow straight back down. Now, sure, they're, I guess going to be able to loop around in this development, but the issue I have with the snow removal on Colorado Ave is there's already cars parked on the street. They have to plow around them. That's not going to change. I mean, that's not factored into this whatsoever, as far as I can tell. And again, we're nearly losing 8 acres of green area. As someone else alluded, we're becoming more like Harrisburg City than I certainly want us to become. I bought a house on this street as well because it was quiet. It's in a suburb. Now I'm getting close to that city. I certainly don't want to live in a city. The stormwater runoff, I mean, it's absurd. I wish we could have seen that video again tonight. It's already a serious issue over there, and not just on Colorado Ave. I mean, Utah Ave, all these streets over there. And sure, there's going to be a retention pond put in, but again, as pointed out already, once all these trees are removed here, that's not going to impact, or that's not going to positively impact anyone on Colorado Ave. All that water is going to continue to run down Colorado Ave. The only positive impact I can see from a stormwater perspective is that there is a retention pond, or I think maybe 2, as was previously alluded to. I did notice at least one of them directly located in the path of any stormwater from Windchase 3 to Windchase 2. Anyway, I digress. I don't have any kids. I know there are people in here that do. I know there are people in here that have grandkids. But have we thought about the impact to our schools? I mean, I have friends that work at Phillips Elementary School that they can't control the kids in their class already. There's too many kids. Same thing at all the other elementary schools, all the other high schools. And this is only going to negatively impact that. A question I have for the board, and I was at the meeting last week, and I personally didn't have a chance to even look into when this next discussion was going to be, but I do understand that there has to be proper public notice, and my question is, where is that posted? Can anyone answer that question? Is it in the back page of the Patriot News that someone gets twice a week, or I mean...
You mean notice of our Board of Supervisors?
Yeah, and what's going to be on the agenda so that we can properly come.
Well, that notice, what we use the Hummelstown Sun.
Oh.
We use, but well, unfortunately, they're.
Technically, that meets the requirements, I'm sure, even though we don't live in Hummelstown.
Well, and the Patriot News, what they publish 2 or 3 days a week, the newspaper industry is not what it used to be. So we take the step of placing the agenda on our website. We put it on our social media sites. And of course, the meetings are always held the first 3 Tuesdays of the month. So we proactively do push it out there through social media and our web presence. So
now, when was the public first notified about this development? I mean, outside of those avenues, I mean, I don't think anybody on this street was really notified in any way that their way of living was going to change. I guess that's legally okay, but anyway, we'll move on. I just want to point some of these things out. I think that maybe we should reconsider in 2021, given that probably a majority of the people in this room get a newspaper less than 2 days a week. Maybe we should consider alternate ways of advertising what's going to be in these.
Well, we
public-
do. That's, we are
Does
required by
everyone have
law.
Facebook and all that. I mean,
Well, we are required by law to place the meeting notices in a publication of general circulation,
you
which
do
we
that.
do.
Okay.
As I said, that's not what it used to be in terms of reach.
Thank you.
Which is why we do things that are not required by law, which is posting on the website, pushing out on social media and our other platforms. We have, 6 different platforms, Chris, that we push information out on. And I would certainly encourage everyone with Civic Plus and all the other platforms we have to sign up for all those notifications. But over the last few years, we've built out all these additional communication devices because we want to get this information out. And newspapers simply weren't cutting it. Now, we don't have to do that, but it's been the policy of this board that we want to push out as much information in as many different platforms as we possibly can. So I would urge everybody to sign up for these notifications, which you can do on our website.
And I will gladly do so now that I'm
Please-
aware.
please do.
Thank you for
Yeah.
making everyone aware of that. And then 2 final things. Really, part of my handout that I wanted to elaborate a little bit on, I wish people could see it here, but as others have touched on this, there are multiple other ways to access this new complex from Royal Ave, from Lancer Street, from I think Hamilton Street or Ave. There's multiple points of entry, exit from those alternative entryways. I guess I just don't understand why we are going to ruin the street that hasn't been touched since 1956 when my home was built. You've heard that it has been a dead-end street since then. And now just because we're doing things properly to the letter of the law, our way of life can be ruined. And while I understand maybe you can't directly stop that, it's very frustrating for your residents. And that's really all I have for the board tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, would anybody else like to speak? Anybody have anything additional to add? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the podium.
My name is Kathleen Jones, and I live at 5006 Colorado Avenue. And I would thank you again for your time, but I do like you to know that if you look at your audience, even though you may have had it on 6 different types of media sites, again, look at your audience. I don't use Facebook. I don't use any of those social media sites. And so therefore, my notification in terms of this development going in was from Suez water employees who were working at the end of the street, letting us know on June 11th. That's when basically our street found out that there were going to be 21 townhouses behind 5012 to 5030 on Colorado Avenue. So this entire process has been a steep learning curve. And to me, it does not speak well for the township that, again, what you think is notifying your residents, you don't know your residents that well. I've lived in my house for 45 years. I live next door to Patricia Shaver, who has been in her house for 55 years, and my neighbor on the other side has been in her house for 75 years. She is the original owner. So know your community. Know who we are and why we are opposing them using Colorado Avenue as an access egress to that development.
Question for you.
Yes.
What mechanism would we utilize that would allow us to reach you and folks like you? How would you recommend we do that? Because we're wide open to suggestions.
A letter?
A letter.
A letter to every single house on Colorado Avenue. Your life is going to change drastically. When My husband and I bought our house in October of '76. We bought it because, again, it was a dead-end street. It was quiet. There was no through traffic. And it has stayed that way. And gradually our neighborhood has changed over the years, but it's now also changing again and revitalizing. We are getting young families in with young children, yet you're going to increase the traffic on a street that has very young children on it. I live at the house where the street is only 27 feet 9 inches wide. Yet you gave them a variance on that. You've given them a variance on the curbing on their islands in the parking lot. And one of the reasons why is to allow for more room for emergency vehicles to turn around in their parking lot. In other words, that's a statement to me that says there's not enough room up there for large emergency vehicles to actually turn around without going over a curb. So they asked for a variance on those islands in the parking lot to have no curbing. They actually asked for a variance also on those same islands so that it could absorb runoff. So runoff is an issue. It is an issue when you take down mature trees that have been there the entire time I've lived in the neighborhood and leave nothing but macadam and the roofs to houses. Let them go either down through their own property on Lancer Street or Royal Court off of Royal Avenue, because this both directions puts them closer to where they would want to be in the first place. Right now, they have to make a big circle coming out Utah, and Utah is a very busy street. I don't know when they took their numbers for only an hour. I don't know when they took their numbers, but sometimes it's very difficult to get off of Utah onto Prince or off of Prince onto Utah. And I'm not even talking about Colorado. We get people from what was called the Penn Gardens area across James Mcguire's ravine. They use that access to Prince Street. We're not the only ones using Utah Avenue. It's an entire another neighborhood across the ravine. Please consider another access to this property. If you are going to approve, because it's their property and they can do what they want with it, then let them build the road down to Lancer Street extension of Windchase 2 apartments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Question for the developer. Would a number of different means of ingress, egress have been suggested? Do all of them require going over a stream?
Other than Colorado Ave, yes.
All the other options require a stream crossing?
As far as I know, the only other viable option to come up through our Lancer Street created its own problems.
Now, could you come to the podium, because there could be people listening at home. That's another item. All of our meetings are televised, so.
And the two that Mr. Anderson gave, and you can see it on the other maps too, there's Royal Avenue, Lancer Street, and Hamilton Drive.
I'll address Royal Ave first. So Royal Ave is part of another development. I believe those curb cuts are probably for a future phase. So we can't control what another developer is going to do, with his ground. Comprehensive plan doesn't have any bearing over land development.
Well,
As far as regulation, surely suggestion, yes.
Yeah,
understood.
as far as the, yeah, okay. But yeah, that does have some bearing on what we do, which is why we do a comprehensive plan.
Understood. and
Otherwise, all we do is produce a document and put it on the shelf, that.
And what's funny is there's actually a stop sign there on Royal Court that is facing up the hill.
Okay,
towards your
okay.
property.
Okay, again, keep in mind, there are people watching on TV and who will later be watching this on YouTube. So if you talk from the audience, they cannot hear you, and then it causes confusion. So if the gentleman could answer my question,
So that's how I'm addressing Royal Ave. I believe that's controlled by another developer who has, no motivation or incentive to make our development any easier. Hamilton Ave, I'm not familiar with. You'd have to pull that up on a map. I just can't, orient myself to where that is.
It's at the apartments there.
it goes through the apartments,
It
Robert?
goes through the apartments at the bottom there.
If
You
it
come down-
goes through the apartments, I'm guessing that it's crossing some other private property that we can't make them give us access over that. That's why we bought the lot on Colorado Ave. This got us to a public street the quickest. Colorado Ave is a public street. I understand that living on it, you have concerns about traffic. Our traffic study determined that at Prince Street, which would be the busier of the three Utah, Colorado, Prince, it was a 0.01% impact increase in traffic.
Hey.
Okay,
Hey.
can we please let the gentleman, again, if you talk from back there, folks can't hear what you're saying. So please finish. What about going through through Windchase 2?
Windchase 2 was feasible, yes, but certainly more challenging with the stream crossing and the steep slopes going up the hill. That's why we approached the owner of the lot on Colorado Ave and decided to use this as an alternative to get us to the public right-of-way and using existing infrastructure.
Now, in terms of the stream crossing, would the stream crossing require the construction of a bridge or simply the installation of a culvert?
My understanding is it was a culvert large enough that you would think it's a bridge. It was a very large structure.
But a culvert nonetheless.
I believe so.
I know there's a big cost differential between putting in even a large culvert or a bridge.
My understanding is that it was a large box-style culvert. I believe it was 20 feet wide or so.
Yeah.
So you would think it was, looking at it to the untrained eye, you'd say that's a bridge.
No.
But it would have a structure that goes under.
Sure. I'm familiar with those type of structures. Okay, thank you. Now, would anybody else like to make comment here before we move to discussion? Yes, sir.
Something new. Something new.
Something new? Yeah, it would be helpful we're getting the point on everything that's been said, but if you can if you have any new points to bring up, that would be helpful to us.
Good evening. Mike Molia, last name is Moglia. I live at 210 Ashwood Way, coming up from the other direction.
Okay.
From everybody's comments and everybody I'm hearing tonight, I think we're putting cost over life safety on this whole proposal. I believe firm that. And in my job, I deal with a lot of housing. And I've seen a lot of developments be constructed where other builders would be more concerned about the cost than the life safety. So we got to build a bridge. Big deal. Right now, coming up Ashwood Way, people avoid the light at the top of Prince Street and Locust Lane to come down through Ashwood Way to avoid that light to get down to Prince Street quicker. And they're flying down Ashwood Way. They're coming and they're turning a sharp left onto Utah, flying down Utah. Happens every day, specifically during the summer. And then meaning on Utah, I agree with everything these folks are saying. Utah has become a parking lot. Also, the streets going off of Utah have become a parking lot. More families are moving in, younger families are moving in. These families have children, and these children can no longer play wiffle ball in the street. They can't even take a walk in the evening because cars are flying by. And now you're going to add this to it. May I ask the builder, what is the estimated cost per unit for rental? Okay. So you're looking about maybe $1,200 a month for a rental? Okay, so very similar to Colonial Glen, and we knew what happened there a couple of months ago. All right? We really got to look at this. We're losing a lot of green space. On North Ashwood Way, I get at least 5 to 10 deer a night running through my property, which I don't mind. I throw out extra bread for them, but we're chasing them away. The green space is going away from this township. And now you want to rezone the area around Colonial Park Mall to build possibly a hotel? I'm totally a believer of community development, but not destroying our neighborhoods. And that's what we're doing here. I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. Now, we lived on Ashwood Way for 15 years, but my in-laws were here in the first house on Creekwood and Fleetwood. And they grew up there. My wife grew up there. And that's why we moved to Lower Passage Township, specifically on Ashwood Way in that area, because we love this township. I think the police departments, I give the police department credit. I give you credit for what you do for the township, and thank you. But also give these people some credit too. We're the ones that pay the taxes. And you need to listen to the neighbors. I appreciate everything all my neighbors said tonight. I do call you my neighbors. All right, and I appreciate it. But we need to watch out for the children. This community, this township will not grow if we keep doing this stuff. We're going to become Harrisburg City. We want to stay Lower Paxton Township. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Seth McConaughey. I live at 5005 Utah Ave. So everyone that's talking about how Utah Ave is becoming a parking lot, well, I have one parking spot for my house on my property, and then I have to use street parking. Well, there's more. This is more than just me that lives in my house. So I invite anyone here to do a traffic count. Come sit on my front porch. I'm sorry, police officer, for what I'm about to say, but have a beer with me and we'll watch the traffic.
As long as you don't drive afterward, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no,
No
we'll sit on
driving.
my front porch. It'll be in a koozie and everything. But it is ridiculous trying the speeds that gentleman there, the neighborhood that he lives in. We get a lot of people that comes from him. So the affected by 1%. By the way, where do you live? What community do you live in? So you're not affected by this. How big are the roads in Mechanicsburg? Guess what? I can barely get my pickup. I saw a guy with a dually pulling a big old gooseneck. And that was a joke coming down there. Could barely fit through. So it's I'm happy I wore a tank top because it's hot in here with all this. Whew. It's getting spicy in here. Anyways,
Is the AC on, by the way? It is, okay.
So this is putting a lot of traffic down that road that coming from that neighborhood, coming from, I don't, my road's a little bit more busy, but we have kids playing I never knew that kids around here could grow up like I did. Like, I'm sure the older people up here and out there
Careful.
grew up. I'm sorry, I'm not calling you old. I'm just saying that to be able to go and ride your bike around. Like, we're going to have dump trucks, I'm sure, excavating equipment, semis bringing building materials down there and stuff like that. That's going to be bringing a lot of heavy construction, a lot of big vehicles down there. That could be a risk to the kids. I don't have kids, but still, I like the kids. I go out and I skateboard with them. It's kind of on the street. I'm sorry. But I'm just saying this Royal Ave or going into the other development, I'm sorry, but I don't care about your money and how much it's going to cost you. It's our place, man. This isn't about your company. This is about our houses and our how we live. I'm trying to talk to you, man. I'm trying to reach out to you. Please don't do this. Like, there's got to be another way. Don't go down Colorado. Don't do it, man. All right, that's my time. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Okay, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Kathy Bookaroo. I live at 5014 Utah Avenue. I just have a question about, everybody had really valid concerns, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys giving us a voice. My concern is more so like when the construction happens, wherever it's coming through, where the street is going to go through, when you guys are digging, it's disrupting the ecosystem. So I'm talking about the animals. Like this gentleman said, we already have a lot more animals coming in. I'm specifically talking about rodents. You guys did a sewer project in Lower Paxton Township.
Mm-hmm.
I know of a neighborhood in Linglestown, and there's a rat infestation now. And if that happens in our neighborhood, can we count on you guys to fix the problem?
Well, if there were actually a rat infestation, yes, we would.
And when I say infestation, it's probably not really an infestation, but
no, there were. We did look in. I don't want to get sidetracked, but we did look into that, and there were other causes for what occurred there.
Okay. But if there was like an issue with
we would deal with
any sort of animal.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like they said, this is going to cover
we can't control deer.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, anybody else before we move to a discussion here? Yes, sir. You've been very patient.
Hi, my name is Dave Ettinger at 5010 Colorado Avenue. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I promise I'll be brief. I'm just going to echo what everybody else has said before, particularly about the entrance and egress. I urge Triple Crown to go through a different route if at all possible. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Rachel McCormick. I'm at 5011 Colorado. I'm just going to point out where it is. Across the street. My concern is obviously echoing what everybody else is bringing to the table, but one of them is something I brought up at the first meeting, including school buses. So we already talked about numbers of schools, which is a whole different issue, but from the looks of the plans, it's on a flat road. But if you drive over there, there's a decline. And in the past, the school bus would drive down Colorado and turn right to Indiana, not going down the dead end, because it was a dead end. With these plans, supposedly they can turn up into the neighborhood, make the turnaround. So my question is, has that been considered to make the turnaround properly, or is my corner going to end up being the school stop where 21 plus apartments are going to be walking down these sidewalks with their kids when it's icy and the buses can't make it? And then alluding to that as well, same with plows. I know it was mentioned earlier, but when I spoke about it at the first meeting, Triple Crown kind of alluded to the fact that if we get stuck at the end and the plow can't make it through, so will their apartments. So I just kind of want to see where the thought of letting 21 apartments full of people stranded until they're able to get plows is allowed or a part of the ordinance. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I just have a question for Triple Crown. Is there any way you would consider coming in from Windchase 2 and not coming in from Colorado Avenue?
Personally, that's not my decision. Unfortunately, Mark DeSanto is not here. The plan was developed in accordance with all of the ordinances. I understand the concerns from the residents on Colorado and Utah. The unfortunate truth is that all of this traffic is eventually getting to Prince Street anyway, whether you go through Windchase 2 or through Colorado, Utah.
Not necessarily.
No. No, because
Okay.
Wind Chase 2 comes out through the apartments, and the apartments go to Lancer, or they go down to Earl and to Royal. So they're not even, there's quite a few different ways. They can even go out Byron to out there by the Cosmoprof. So it's not all going to go to Prince Street. There's like 3 different locations.
Robin, if I may, Robin is, I think, on the right track here. And I understand that you're not the principal and you can't make a decision. Mark is not here. We know Mark very well. And I will say that Triple Crown has been very attuned in past development efforts to public opinion. And let me finish the whole statement before you all react. Were we to vote on this tonight, the gentleman is correct. They have met all the requirements. We literally, once they do that, have no choice. We had a situation a year or so ago where we had a developer in here who wanted to build a development. Folks from the neighborhood were here like you were. We agreed with the folks from the neighborhood, and they had met all the requirements, but we turned them down anyhow. The end result was the developer appealed it to court, and a judge ruled in his favor, and development's going forward. So we learned a lesson that even if we don't agree with what's occurring, we have to act within the bounds of the law. So were we to vote tonight, we would have to really legally have no choice but to approve. What I would like to ask and suggest to the board is that we consider tabling this to our next business meeting and ask you to go back to Triple Crown and to Mark and sharpen your pencils and take a look at possibly being able to put in your large culvert that looks like a bridge, and perhaps take the traffic out, through your existing development. Maybe you could take that out of your public relations budget, as opposed to the. And again, I understand you are not empowered to make that decision. So my suggestion is that you take that feedback from the Board of Supervisors and from what you've heard to the public back to the folks at Triple Crown. Come back to us at our next public meeting, which would be the first Tuesday of September already. So for those of you who don't get Facebook, it's the first Tuesday of September. We'll see. Now, again, we cannot force the developer to do this, but we can make our request to the developer that you take another look at this and consider this option. So with that, would anybody be willing to make a motion that we table this to our next meeting?
So moved.
Okay.
So moved by Mr. Zumas. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Lindsay. There's no debate on a table motion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank
So if
you.
you would please take that back, and I would be happy to have a phone conversation with Mr. DeSanto if you would like to.
Sure, and that next meeting is the 7th of September?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, apparently we have until I guess, until December 7th to action. So we're still well within the time frame. But I do believe that the residents have brought a lot of very good points up, relative to stormwater, et cetera. As Mr. Hines has explained, they have an approved stormwater plan. It would seem to me that aside from stormwater, traffic is the biggest concern. So we'll ask the developer if he'll consider an option. We cannot force it, but let's take a couple weeks to see if we can work something out. Okay? Okay.
Ma'am, do you have a cell phone?
Do you have a cell phone?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, smartphone?
Well,
Okay.
you can sign up to any alert that the township has on your cell phone.
Yep.
And matter of fact, it's not that hard.
Do you do email?
I have one of those too. Yes.
Question I have is, if this is approved, and they do the Colorado Avenue.
You just-
Go to the
Mr.
podium,
Huntington,
please.
yeah.
Anyhow, if this is approved and they do it the way they plan on doing it, what happens in failure that we lose our embankment, or we got trees dying on our houses because there's nothing holding them up anymore but a row of trees, kids running through our yards and people taking shortcuts, the road being turned into, well, we don't care about you anymore. What's going to happen with that? Do I have anything to do? Does any of our houses have anything to do with erosion that happens? Oh, we didn't know that would happen. What's going to happen then? Who's responsible then? Because you guys already approved it.
Didn't we talk about
You already approved it. They're not own, do they own it?
No, we
Triple
do.
Crown own
I think
this?
we talked about
We talked about, that's the point of the bond.
Right.
That's the reason why the bond is placed, and we hold it for 18 months. Now, if problems occur after 18 months, that's a different story, but typically if a problem is going to present itself, it's within 18 months. But yeah, we have a bond to make sure that things like that don't occur.
Because and the other part they brought was the possibility of wet basements. I'd be livid if they start getting a wet basement. I don't have that since the 72 flood, but if they ruin that hill, that the water comes down in there and I get a wet basement, I mean, besides moving, it's like, what's the purpose to swamp us out? And they're, well, who's going to care about it after 18 months? It's like, it's on your own. You know, we didn't cause that.
We'll cross that new bridge when we get
Hold
there.
on, that bridge.
We'd like a new bridge.
Just, we talked, when I asked, I know that the bond is held for 18 months. That doesn't, I mean, if people start getting wet basements and there's catastrophic or serious erosion, it doesn't have to happen within that 18 months. If they submit a stormwater management plan that's not working, there can still be remedies made after 18 months, right?
Well, I'm looking at the 6 houses on a cliff. You know, when you have the 6 houses that are based in that
I
cliff.
know. Yeah, but I mean, there really are a lot of hoops they have to jump through. I mean, but if something shows itself 2 years later to where there's these, multiple problems, there are remedies beyond 18 months, right?
Yeah, so if there are any issues that arise that are governed by any of the township ordinances, for example, the stormwater ordinance, there may be enforcement actions that can take place to make sure those issues are remedied.
And that's what the ordinances are there for, correct?
Yes.
They're for that when you get a new development and people don't get flooded basements. That's what they're for. So with all this stuff, and I think
I just look at us as a land of forgotten when a new development moves in. We're nothing.
No.
But these are things that can occur and probably will occur just by listening to other people talk about what's going on in their development of that side.
No, we've as you know, there are many developments. There's developments in my neighborhood.
Hey, in your neighborhood, where's that location?
Heatherfield area. There's a new one that just opened up a road. Mr. Zumas is near it too. A road that had previously been a dead end was opened up, and now there's more traffic in our neighborhood. But point is, these things, there's development, there's rules, and I know when problems arise, people tell us, and people are not abandoned.
I'm just curious where we were going to go to if that would happen. If they build that and within the 18 months at least, we start getting erosion down our embankments. We have people trashing us. I can't imagine it not happening, but if it does, who do we complain to?
Well, we do have a stormwater ordinance and a whole stormwater department now, which we won't get into that tonight because that was a whole other area. But yeah, there are remedies, sir.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, we will now move. Sure.
Again, it's Patricia Shaver, 5008 Colorado Avenue. Many years ago, we had a pool in our backyard that was 4 foot deep above ground, 30 foot long, 15 foot wide. And we had all these rules that the township has, is to have a fence around it and all kinds of stuff. They've got these retention ponds that are not above ground. Animals could fall in and drown, children could fall in and drown. They should have to put, or somebody should make a rule that they have to put some kind of a barrier around these retention ponds. And as somebody pointed out, we're getting more little children in the neighborhood, and they're going to be running up and down. the retention pond should be protected from people falling in and animals. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will they be fenced, Jason, or not?
No, they're not proposed to be fenced.
How deep are they?
I believe they're 2.5 feet at the deepest location.
And the retention ponds only have water in them when there is a major rain event, correct? We're
Correct.
not talking about constantly existing ponds, so. But anyhow, we can get into retention ponds another time. Okay, I'd like to move now to our actual improvement guarantees, something you've heard us talk about here. And again, my thing is not working, so there we have 4 improvement guarantees. Autumn Oaks will share. Do we have a motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the improvement guarantees for Ridge Village Phase 2, Autumn Oaks Phase 4, and Wilshire Estates Phase 1, and 5875 Avis Lane.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. We now move to the payment of bills for Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Is there a motion? Mr. Treasurer.
That would be me.
Yes, that would be you. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve payment of the bills for Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority.
Thank you, Mr. Zumas. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any additional announcements from manager, staff, or board? Robin?
Just the Sewer Authority next Thursday in this, or excuse me, next Tuesday in this room at 7 o'clock.
And the next meeting of this Board of Supervisors, as referenced earlier, will be Tuesday, September 7th at 7 p.m. right here in this room. Hearing no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.